I'm Max Lopez. This is the Blue Wave. Representative Al Green has been censured by the House of Representatives, including by 10 fellow Democrats who went across the aisle to vote to censure Al Green for his conduct during Donald Trump's joint address to Congress this past Tuesday, where Al Green stood up and repeatedly shouted at the president that he does not have a mandate from the American people to cut Medicaid, repeatedly saying, you do not have a mandate. And I think that the Democrats that have censured Al Green are quite spineless and quite cowardly, because really what Al Green is doing is laying out a blueprint of how the Democratic Party really should be operating going forward the next 4 years of this Trump 2.0 that we have found ourselves in here. Let's go ahead and check out this clip from The View of Sunny Hostin laying down her grievances with the Democratic Party.
You want to hear their name?
Yes, I do.
Why go after them too? Go after the
Because
Republicans.
they don't know how to fight and be part of an opposition party. Representative Green gave them the example. The Democrats are not meeting the moment. It is very clear that Medicaid is on the table. It is very clear that Social Security is on the table. It is very clear that people will die. The baby boomers, the civil rights generation, they knew what they had to do. They were willing to fight and die for their rights. This generation of Congress, they are not meeting the moment. This is an existential crisis.
Existential crisis the Democrats are not meeting the moment to. Very, very cunning words there from Sunny Hostin, and I don't disagree with her whatsoever. The Democrats are not meeting the moment in a time when political decorum has gone out the window over 10 years ago. Real quick, here's a list of Democrats who voted to censure Al Green: Ed Case of Hawaii, Tom Suozzi of New York, Jim Costa of California, Marie Glinsenkamp Perez of Washington, Jared Moskowitz of Florida, Amy Barra of California, Krishi Holonen of Pennsylvania, Marcy Couture of Ohio, Laura Gillen of New York, Jim Hines of Connecticut. These Democrats are showing very, very little spine, and to censure a fellow Democrat who is standing up to somebody who didn't campaign on cutting Medicaid, didn't campaign on cutting Social Security, right? He may have mentioned it here or there in a couple of interviews in a hush-hush tone, right? But the vast majority of Americans do not want entitlements to be cut in order to save money elsewhere, right? The vast majority of Americans sees the value in entitlements and, in fact, have been paying into entitlement programs for a long, long time. And the vast majority of America does not want entitlement programs to be cut. So Al Green here, he, like Susie Hostin said, that he's giving them an example, giving the party an example of how to act. I believe that is very true, that this is a sort of blueprint that the Democrats should follow going forward, that we need to be purely an opposition party to the president, not a party that is seeking to uphold political tenets of years prior, when we didn't have somebody in the country that so obviously does not have the interests of the everyday American at heart in office. And to cite political decorum, a fallout of political decorum being a reason that a member of the party should be censured is just silly in this day and age, given so many different things. But the things that pop in my head are what happened on January 6th, when political decorum was thrown out the window on January 6th, and the official process of the vice president nominating the president-elect and certifying the president-elect's win was disrupted by a violent mob of protesters sent directly by Donald Trump for the purpose of disrupting that very process. Political decorum went out the window when Marjorie Taylor Greene repeatedly interrupted and shouted at Joe Biden and faced no consequences for that whatsoever. It's like you have a Democratic Party, portions of the Democratic Party. I won't say the whole thing, because we do have more progressive, more outspoken members, such as Al Green himself. But you have portions of the Democratic Party that seem to think that the reason that Harris lost was because the Democrats are not conservative enough, or that there's some sort of voter out there who, they like Trump, they voted for Trump in 16, in 20, in 24, but that they just need to see a little bit more decorum and a little bit more conservatism out of the Democratic Party, and that they're just waiting for any reason at all to ditch Trump, to move on over to the Democratic Party and vote Democrats in office, if they're to just see a little bit more of the Democrats working together with the Republicans. And it's such a silly notion because of what we just saw in this last election, right? Where Trump didn't gain support in the election, but he didn't lose any either, right? From 2020. And the Democrats, in fact, lost more support than Trump lost. And people were not energized enough, for whatever reason, to go and vote in Harris. And I think it mainly falls on the shoulders of the Democrats not messaging what the distinct differences of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are today, and basically acting like the Republican Party is something that is still a functioning political party, and that certain rules of decorum and certain things need to be followed in order to make progress, and you have to have bipartisanship and work together with the other side to progress on certain things. It's all out the window. The Republican Party is the party of Donald Trump, and if we're waiting for the Republicans that voted in Donald Trump, okay, he just won the popular vote for the first time in over 20 years, that a Republican won the popular vote. We need to stop kidding ourselves. We need to stop thinking of all the things we need to do to appease the Republican voter, this mythical Republican voter that's just chomping at the bit to jump on over and see the light and and vote in Democrats. We need to purely be a thorn in the side of Donald Trump at every single chance that we get. We need to explain exactly why we are being a thorn in the side and are opting to not cooperate with an administration that is seeking to, in my opinion, intentionally lower America's standing in the world, abandon our allies in Europe and elsewhere, and further isolate, in doing so, further isolating our country on the global stage, and stripping autonomy and stripping individual rights and stripping anybody that he deemed not worthy of having opportunity and having a chance in this country, stripping them of that opportunity and any chance that exists currently for them. This is not a party that is to be worked with. It is a party that has gone off the rails many, many, many years ago, probably even before Donald Trump came onto the scene. But they used to at least to pretend. The pretense has been dropped. The mask is completely off, and the American people they're having so many different distractions and so many different cultural wars thrown at them, and so many just generally distractions thrown at them by the White House on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, that people are not seeing the bigger picture of what's happening to our government right now. And the Democrats need to do every single thing that they can to point this out every single chance they get. And I think that is what Al Green did in a very, very, very visceral way in doing what he did, standing up to Donald Trump. And I think that it certainly is a blueprint that he has provided for the Democratic Party to be a party of pure opposition, and in doing so, regain support, regain trust of voters that you have lost in this last election, voters that you had in 2020 that you lost in 2024. Because people, they look at the Democratic Party and they go, oh, well, they're not going to be affected by Donald Trump's cuts to Medicaid and to Social Security, and the Democratic elite in this country are not affected by the price of eggs at the moment, and Donald Trump's totally unnecessary, frivolous trade war that he's inflicting on Canada and Mexico and China. They're going, what are the Democrats doing to, do they really care? Do the Democrats really, do they really have it in them? Do they have the strength? Do they have the energy in them to sufficiently stand up to Donald Trump so that we can hopefully rekindle, recoup, hold on to our government functioning in any sort of way that helps anybody in this country that's not some rich person in 2026? Can we do that, right? Does the current Democratic Party have the legs and have the energy to push back against Trump in the way that needs to be done in order for us to have midterm elections in 2026 that are substantial and are free and fair and are not totally crooked, cooked elections because of Donald Trump doing so and removing safeguards that keep our elections free, fair, and safe. I hope so. I'm heartened by the response of certain Democrats. I'm not gonna pretend, this certainly isn't the overwhelming majority of Democrats that voted to censure Al Green. It's just 10, but it's 10 more than it should have been. It's 10 more than it should have been that voted to censure him. And the Democrats need a playbook. We need to figure out a strategy here. We can't have some of the party that's trying to do bipartisanship, some of the party that's in complete opposition, because it dilutes whatever direction we go in, right? If we're not all on the same page, any action that's taken will be lessened and not as effective than if we were to all be on the same page and all have the same messaging, the same message, right? This is one of the strengths of the GOP is they have this ecosystem that they've built it's a propaganda ecosystem. It's an ecosystem that tells lies, but it's an effective ecosystem nonetheless that they have built for themselves. And it's a big reason why we lost this last election. And it's a big reason why we lost in 2016 for that matter. And something needs to be done about it. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who's into politics, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, let's do everything we can to push back against this administration, because this is not an administration that represents the majority of American ideals. And I think it's something where we're in a crisis situation where we should be in all the alarms should be going off all at once right now. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you for watching. Take care.